Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of VeVe Vantage Podcast. Today we have a very special guest. He is the owner of almost 1,200 collectibles, 1,400 comics, 9 one-of-one VeVe Collectibles. Yes, the super unique one-of-one, and he has 9 of them. He's also a tech entrepreneur, a former actor, and most of all, a very passionate VeVe collector. Guys and gals, our guest today is Michael Bowman. We talked about his massive VeVe collection, what he thinks about the VeVeVerse and how it will change the game for VeVe and bring that massive adoption that we've been waiting for a long time. Obviously, we'll be talking about his 9 one-of-one super exclusive VeVe artworks, and last but not least, his vision for the future of VeVe. It is a short, sweet, but amazing interview. I guarantee you will enjoy every single minute of it. Let's get to it. Michael, thank you so much for spending the time with us today. We are super grateful to have you on. We know that you are a huge and very unique VeVe collector in the sense that you have, I think, close to 3,000 NFTs at this point, close to 3,000, over 200 sets. And what's really special about you is you are very into the super rare, extremely rare one-of-one NFTs. You are also a business owner. So we are super excited to be learning from you about your VeVe journey, your perspective on the company, and VeVeVerse, Omi, everything. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely excited to be here. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And I think Mr. V has a big first question for you. So Mr. V, why don't you get started?
All right, Michael. So before we deep dive into VeVe, if you wouldn't mind sharing for our audience an idea of like where you're coming from, so that they can better connect with you on a personable level. And also, what can you share about yourself that would paint a picture of who you are and what you're all about?
Well, I think I'm best described as a self-proclaimed tech nerd. I like all things gadgets. I've grown up around computers. My dad got one of the first Apple computers when they came out. I remember playing silly little games and ASCII monitor, and I've always really been into tech. I tried coding at one point in time, not strong in math, so I ended up ironically in the performing arts, theater, then migrated into film and television, which ended up moving me out to Hollywood to pursue that. Met a lot of great people in that industry, had some really great experiences and some really horrific experiences, fell into the property management, the real estate space, and ended up managing communities and working my way through corporate level at an operator, and then migrated over to the tech side on the vendor supplier side, which is really what motivated me to start my own company. Having experienced so many painful issues within the multifamily property management space as an operator or property manager, we wanted to help solve some of that, as well as help like residents through the moving process and things. And that's really where I ended up in the space I'm in today, is doing that.
Wow, that's a lot of pivoting, I guess. But glad to hear that you've seemed to find a niche that you are thriving in. I mean, like it sounded like you were thriving in each phase, but like to settle in and be, it seems like you're pretty comfortable now.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, the film and television industry is a lot like the NFT market space. It has its ups and downs, and it's not a really stable environment, especially if you're going to raise a family. And that's what my wife and I were looking at is, hey, we want to have kids, and, I can't be on set till 4 a.m. and, passing ships or off traveling or whatnot. So that was what really pushed me to like focus on a career in the property management space, move that direction. I still love film and television, still have a lot of friends in that space. So who knows?
Very cool. All right. Well, so it's interesting to see like how a chain of events can make collectors out of all of us. Your background in television reminds me of a close friend of mine who used to write for Star Trek: The Next Generation. He would meet with his the producers on occasion, and every time that he did, he noticed that there were a bunch of collectibles, like just on these different shelves or on the desk, which is pretty cool to hear about. And you know, afterwards, or not long afterwards, he would end up having a big collection himself. And over time, unfortunately, those things kind of wore wore down, you know, or may have disappeared or may have broken over time. But you know, that just comes with like aging and natural, like normal wear and tear, especially like if you're moving from place to place. But in either case, shifting back to you, would you mind sharing like how your time as an actor may have influenced you in any way as a collector? And what have you collected over the years? I can see that you have a few items in your background, but maybe that is just like the tip of the iceberg.
They're the tip of the iceberg. It's interesting that you mentioned the physical collectibles because, ironically, like you said, they're breakable. I mean, it's easy to shift something and snap it. I've got, I think they're higher up, but I've got Darth Vader and I've got Yoda, and their lightsabers light up. And man, if you hit that lightsaber the wrong way, it's dead, right? So it's NFTs; they don't break, which is funny. But so collections acting up. Well, having been on a number of sets, both film and television, props kind of were something that was interesting to me. So I collected a few movie memorabilia type prop items. Some of the big things that I've always, just for sentimental value, even held on to is all of the scripts from shows that I worked on or films that I worked on, which is really cool, especially with maybe with a few cast members' signatures on them as well. So that was really some of the main things that I collected as a kid. I did the normal, G.I. Joes and Legos and things like that. And then as I got older, trying to move those things around and stuff, I sold off a lot of those collectibles. And then I'm gonna say migrated to the more mature collectible for me, and that was like the statues, like the sideshow, full size collectibles, figures or statues. And I probably have, an ungodly hoard amount of the unique NFT based collectibles. So the physicals of a lot of the NFTs that I hold in the VeVe space.
That's awesome. So you started with physical collectibles. How did you transition to VeVe? I think you started around February 2022, right?
Okay, so this is interesting. So I actually have two accounts.
Okay.
My wife and I both started an account, or I should say I pushed her into starting an account because I wanted her to be able to help with drops. Everybody remembers back in the late 21s and early 22s, it was really hard to get a drop, especially with all the bots out there. So I had got her set up an account. My original account, I started in May of 2021, and I have about, I think, maybe a total of 1,000 collectibles on that first account. And anyway, I the very first collectible that I got was because of my daughter. She was really, really into an artist. There's a brand called Tokidoki.
Yep.
Artist is Simone Ligno, yeah, and he's the creator of Tokidoki. And one of his iconic figures was Dragon Girl. And so I happened to be on IG, and I saw this. He had posted that he was dropping an NFT on this VeVe platform, and I was like, "Oh, okay, well, that's cool. I wonder what it is."
Wow.
And so I explored it, and I signed up. Didn't have a clue how to do it. I didn't Google anything. I was just like, okay, what do I do? And it took me a little while, but I ended up getting all of the rarities, which was cool for me. But that was really my first collectible was Dragon Girl. So that was really how I landed in the NFT space in general. I went on to collect all of the non-VeVe NFTs from the Tokidoki brand. I hold those on OpenSea, and I'm waiting for interoperability so that I can move them onto the VeVe platform. But yeah, so that's really what prompted me to get onto the VeVe platform. And then in a weird turn of events, I had two colleagues in my workspace, so that were in the multifamily space, that I had just happened to be talking to, and I told them about the drop, and one of them was like, "Wait, man, I've been on that platform for 9 months," and
Whoa!
I was like, "What?" And so for Christmas, he transferred a couple like Supergirl and a couple of the NFTs over to my account as a Christmas gift for me. And really, I just got sucked in. It was cool. It was, especially then, it was the market was on fire, and everybody was complaining about bots, but still buying and dropping and selling. And so I ended up just migrating over to my wife's account because I had gotten several comics and collectibles that valuation went up really high on them. I sold off the extras and used that really to fuel the buy. And I was like, oh, I'm surpassing my other account, I'll just set off to the side and focus on this one as my main then.
Yeah. So how did you go from, okay, your daughter liked this brand, you discover VeVe, and then your friends from the multifamily industry kind of like feel your, kind of initiated your true passion for VeVe and digital collectibles. How did you go from that to having, I have some notes here. I saw last night, almost 1,200 collectibles, 1,400 comics, 1,400 comics, and about 219 full sets. How did you go from, like just kind of got started to becoming one of the biggest whales on the app pretty much?
Well, that's flattering. I consider myself one of the biggest whales. I think that I think I've made some strategic buys. I think that by virtue, I mean, heck, most of the rationale behind fueling my volume of collectibles and comics is FOMO. You see this, like these brands that are, I mean, there's no other platform out there that has the quality or variety of brands from everywhere, from Asian pop culture to US based, film and television, Powder Puff Girls to Voltron to, I'm waiting for He-Man. I'm waiting, like there's all these things that, you just know they're going to come. So it was, a lot of it was FOMO, because you'd see these drops and you're like, gosh, man, I'm gonna have to get that one. So you go for the drop, and then you look at the market and you see it. Oh, well, the price went down. I better get another one. And so, combination of really like just the want to have all of those, in my collection, as well as some, that my friend who's in the space, who's pretty prominent on the VeVe platform. He was, stacking. So he's like, hey, get these. And, so he gave me some idea early on of how to make sure that I was looking at, the value of a mint number versus some of the intrinsic value of the oddities, and, clean mints or dirty mints or specific to the year of the product release and things.
Hey guys, just a quick message. Every week I, Mr. V, work over 20 hours to bring you the most non-BS VeVe content. English is my second language, and there were nights we recorded until 1 a.m. My brain stopped processing, and I naturally spoke Vietnamese to him, and it got pretty weird. But that's just how dedicated we are to this podcast. In return, we ask you to enter a gentleman agreement. We will continue working into 1 a.m. for you, but we ask you to subscribe to the podcast, leave us a rating, and tweet at us to tell us what you think, because those comments will ultimately help us to refine the content just for you. That's it. That's all you need to do. Let's get back to it. Yeah. So how did you go from that to, well, I think one of the most unique attributes about your VeVe journey is that you are really into the one-of-one collectibles. I think you have 9 of them the last time I checked. Why one-of-one, and how did that whole story started?
Well, I mean, 101. There's only one, period. You look at these, Woody mint 41, going for 12 grand, or you see these mints that are just low mints that are there's 40 held that aren't even out in the public, and still these double digit mints are bringing in massive dollar amounts of valuation, and there's thousands of them right in the mint series. So I think that it was just really cool to look at these 101s when they dropped. So I really pushed in that direction. There's a couple that I wish I could have gotten. Dragon Girl was one of them, but it was a little, I bid low on that one, unfortunately, lower than I should have, I guess. But I think that I think the value of those and the fact that they're one of one, not that it's a flex in like the VeVeVerse someday, but I think that being able to display those and only having one, will be really beneficial. I think the value of them is going to stay consistent, at least.
Yeah, not to mention that there's that social currency. It's when I first started, people were talking about like being able to own Secret Rare Spidey, and only 1,000 people could own one, and people knew who those owners were, right? But with you being able to own not one but 9 one of ones on VeVe, when there's I don't even know the actual count of one of ones, but I assume that there's less than like 15 or 20, and that is quite a statement.
Thank you. I probably overpaid for a few of them.
Yeah, no, it's very cool. It definitely draws attention to your account. I know that like when I first saw you post on Twitter, like I had no idea. I had no idea that there were collectors like you on the app. Of course, they were like the more vocal people, but it was pretty cool to see you like gradually, share your collection, and that made it all the more fun and entertaining in the space.
Yeah, I do remember the first time I saw your tweet of you having 9 one of one. I was like, Miss V, we need to bring Michael on. Are you connecting with him? Is he in like the specimen collector group? I was like, we have to bring him on because your strategy is so unique. So beside the fact that they are one of one, do you can you tell us about one particular one of one that you really treasure, or one that has a lot of sentimental values behind them, or anything like that?
Well, it's probably a no-brainer for me. It would be Ghost Spider for sure. Peach Mumko is a very talented artist. Her work is amazing. I felt really, really good about that buy, or I should say winning bid on that one. I think that the irony of it was that so I follow a lot of the Japanese culture and I'm a lot of that, and it was also the 7th AP that dropped. So I kind of went with, okay, 7, lucky number. It's a really Ghost Spider. And I think it's ironic because at the time I didn't know about through the Spider-Verse and plans for development on potential live action in that space, and maybe a primary character being Gwen. But I think that it was a solid buy, and that I'm excited to see a better collectible drop for her, like the full size version, not the Marvel minis, but which I do have a couple of her as well. And then again, that's probably, I would have loved to have gotten that the Dragon Girl drop AP, but I also like you probably noticed I have a lot of the ASMs, and Marco, I've got 2 of his, and he's a really great artist too. I love his work too.
How is the competition for those one-of-one auctions? Because that is way off our territory. Mr. V likes to collect his 1 or 2 very specimens. I don't collect specimens at all. I'm more of like a floor guy, more on the OMI side. When you participate in these auctions, are there a lot of other bidders too? And how thin is that winning margin?
Oh, so that's a tough one. I think, well, one, I would just say it's very difficult to see anything in that when you go in blind. I mean, you're really just, you look at the 101, you look at the historic closing bids on previous, you look at the valuation in your own mind, like what do you think it is worth? And then you're blindly bidding. It's not like an eBay where, you get it for $1 over the lowest bid. You could pay thousands over the next bid down, because if you bid $5,000 on it, or 5,000 gems on it, and the next lowest is 1,000 gems, you're paying the 5. So it's a little bit of a broken process, because I think that while it's blind and I understand the concept of it, it would maybe there's a little bit more of a closing the gap on it, to just to make sure that it's a little bit closer to an actual auction type basis. But you just have no visibility, so it's really hit or miss if you're going to get one. I've bid low on a few that I wanted, and regretted it later, and yeah, but you really don't see who your competition is.
All right. Well, hopefully they do hopefully they do address that in a more favorable way for people who do like to bid on those one of ones. So you did mention that you did jump into the space with VeVe, at least because of your daughter's interest in Tokidoki brand, and that your wife also had an account. And I don't want to make any assumptions, but I take it based off of that you're pretty much most of your family is interested in VeVe as well. Do you all talk about it or share your latest acquisitions, or do you like to share it, once in a while on social media? Like how do you go about being able to share the joy that you may be getting from this platform?
Yeah, well, I would say that most of my family's tired about hearing of acquisitions or buys or new drops, unless it's something relevant, like that we're watching a show or a movie that's coming out. I'll play around with the AR and do some fun stuff. My son's big math, loves tech and stuff too, so he kind of is into it. My wife's a little bit, she's less interested in it anymore. I really tend to share more with people in my workspace. There's a lot of tech in real estate, but ironically, most of the people that I know in my peer group haven't really experienced anything with NFTs, or they've just vaguely heard of an NFT with some brand or something that they follow, and it is definitely becoming more prolific in just across the US, with these new NFTs popping up, where you hear about an NFT with something, or next you're I'm sure someday cereal boxes are gonna have QR codes to get a free NFT. Who knows? But so yeah, I tend to share the AR and the concept with a lot of people in my workspace.
So you mentioned, well, this is one of my favorite questions. And sorry, I just came up with it today, so I haven't had the chance to share it with you earlier. But I noticed that you are in the real estate industry, so like multifamily. I have one question for you, which is, and you also have friends and peers within the same industry as well. When you think of the VeVeVerse, what are some opportunities in terms of real estate? And if you were to go to the VeVeVerse or any metaverse in particular, how do you envision yourself creating a business and economic engine and making money in general?
That's actually a very interesting question. I actually had a conversation with David about that. So I'll try to be concise. So the whole COVID pandemic really put pressure on the property management space to integrate technology in a way that they hadn't previously utilized. We started seeing these virtual tours much more prevalent, people wanting to do lease online, do all of their stuff online, pushing people into this to this virtual world. I absolutely can see with the VeVeVerse and digital real estate, the ability to replicate full communities and have community engagement within the apartment family type of business. Everything from social marketing to just interacting with leasing professionals in a virtual reality sense. I'm a Facebook investor by virtue of it was really cool when it happened, and I thought I would get shares in that platform, having no idea the amount of money that they would spend in the VR space and where that's going with the conversion of Meta. So I think that we're just scratching the surface of the potential of the VeVeVerse and the interactivity that you are going to see on a global level, where people can come together from totally different backgrounds with language conversion, and again being able to display those collectibles and have your own space within the VeVeVerse. I'm super stoked on where VeVe is taking the whole virtual reality experience.
Yeah. So on your idea earlier, you said that the COVID situation limited a lot of social activities. So is your business idea, and I know this is like a pretty vague and 30,000 feet, very high level question, but are you thinking about like organize, because people would definitely not need like a rental space. Well, they probably don't need like a 1-bedroom apartment. They probably need a space to socialize. So are you thinking of like you're going to own some properties in there and try to throw social activities to bring people together? Is that your business idea?
I think that in general, like multifamily communities would be able to leverage virtual reality or augmented reality, coupled with like the VeVeVerse, using a collectible as an avatar. Being able to interact in just a social environment, like within your community or expanding out to other communities. I think that, a virtual reality leasing experience where you can actually walk into a community in a VR world, right, tour what it looks like, look at an actual unit, maybe rent a unit, right, through a VR or augmented reality experience, and then collectively, once that's secured and you're living in a community, being able to interact with people in that community that are open to it in virtual reality. I think that you could theoretically, since you can buy digital space in a VeVeVerse or in a NFT market, I think that you could essentially rent or lease space in the VeVeVerse or in a virtual reality world. So yeah, I mean, it's, again, like I said, I think the potential is out there for massive revenue capabilities within the real estate world in a virtual reality.
So we just finished up Star Wars month not too long ago. And, Will brought to my attention that you happen to have a pretty cool mint of a Darth Vader uncommon collectible, mint number 1977. We were wondering, how did you go about purchasing it, and like when was it? And what are the deets?
Yes. So I picked that up, and again, I have not historically been a mint specific collector. I think that, there's obviously, I was late in understanding the intrinsic value or the perceived value of special mints. Star Wars is one of my most favorite movies. The franchise just blows my mind. I literally am like still watching like Obi-Wan and stuff, trying to get caught up on when I have time on some of these ancillary series, which opened up a whole lot of additional information that you're like, oh wow, I didn't know that when I watched that. But I picked up the UC Darth Vader not too long after the drop. I'm sure I overpaid for it. When I saw it, I was like, oh, I gotta have that. I don't know why. It was impulsive, I think, at some point. And then I also picked up the episode 4 in a 1977 poster, NFT poster. There is a 1977 collector in the Star Wars who may or may not be harassing me to some extent on whether or not I want to hang on to those. But yeah, I mean, who doesn't like Darth Vader, right? So yeah, I just think I was lucky I grabbed that one.
Yeah, I'm no stranger to overpaying for things too. I definitely pull the trigger on a lot of things, but I get that level of excitement when you know you want something and you have the resources. Why not? Why not?
Yeah.
That was a solid grab. Now to kind of like balance things out, could you share with us maybe something that you did miss out on that you're still salty about? You did mention the the one of one piece, but maybe would there happen to be another?
Yeah. You're gonna rub salt in that wound, I see. Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, I grabbed up all of the Spider-Man Miles Morales after the drop, and I saw the SR, and I was like, I'm not paying 1.2 for that thing. That's ridiculous. I'm just not going to do it. And then I slowly watch. I'm like 2.4. No. It's going to go down. It's going to go down. Yes, I'm a little. I do not own a Spider-Man Miles SR. So yes, I am for sure a little salty on that one.
Yeah, that one definitely caught me off guard, and I did not imagine that running up the way that it did. But what can you do at this point? So moving forward, to forget about that missed opportunity. Will, I think you had a question.
Yep. Yeah. So I am an Omi guy. What are your thoughts on Omi? Do you have any exposure to it? And if you don't, what are a few things that VeVe and the Omi team can do for you to consider buying Omi?
Yeah, so I'm not. I do not. I am not invested in Omi. I actually have stayed away from crypto in general. Aside from some like having to purchase some for like OpenSea, like having to do that whole weird ETH and convert and all that stuff so that I could get the Tokidoki, Tokidoki and a few other NFTs outside of the VeVe place. I really have kind of stayed outside of any type of grab there. I don't know that there's anything really that they could do to really push me into that. I don't necessarily. I mean, the tax implications, the instability of crypto, the potential like legislative restrictions and whatnot. I mean, heck, I think last year my accountant like sent me like this. He's like, did you buy or sell crypto, NFTs or digital currency or something like that? I was like, what? Say what? Like now the IRS wants to know about it. Yeah, I have not done cash out. I was early on the cash out options in VeVe. I haven't exercised ever. I haven't moved anything out of VeVe. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. So you have joined VeVe in May 2021, so very early on. You are also working as an executive in the tech industry. So as a business owner and somebody who works in tech, somebody who's been with VeVe for 2 years now, what are some areas you think VeVe can improve on, and what suggestions, if any, do you have for the team?
Wow, I would say it's a tough one. I mean, I think that they're on the right track. I mean, come on, they dove headfirst into the deep end of a pool that nobody had ever even looked at. I mean, if you really think about when VeVe started, when NFT, I mean, Bored Ape yacht heads and stuff. I mean, like nothing was really iconic or branded. For them to, as an immature company, to grab up the brands and secure licensing agreements with so many high quality brands out there. I mean, I think that they're on the right track. I really, really like the wait list. A bunch of people are like, "Oh, wait list is stupid." But man, I mean, like it's kind of exciting when you get that little "you've been selected." And I haven't always bought like there was a couple drops that I was like, no, I'll wait till market because I think that those they won't sell for that much, and then I'll go back and grab the mid-set ones or whatnot. But I think that bots have plagued the space. I mean, they didn't know when VeVe launched. I mean, you can't protect against so much unknown. And I think they did the best that they could with the amount of staff and team members that they had doing it. So I think that they have righted a ship that was overrun with bots and people that were wanting to, abuse or take advantage of the platform. So I think that it's corrected course, and that with wait lists and some of the delivery of what we were anticipating with the collector points and the VeVeVerse and updates to interoperability and things like that, I think that we're on the cusp of really putting a lot of fuel behind the engine. I think that they need to invest in more team members, which they have recently been doing. I've seen a number of new employees, and specifically on the development side. So I imagine they're running around crazy. I've seen David and Dan all over the place. So I think that they're doing the best that they can, and the haters out there are really either bitter and salty because they missed a drop, or they sold something for $50 and now it's $5,000. I think that the botters really hurt the overall brand initially. But again, I think that that's going to change with the wait lists and also with the more of the release of relevant brands. I mean, if you think about it, VeVe really hasn't done any major marketing. You couple of movie participations, things that are isolated where you have like Tokidoki is launching an NFT and they blast out there, but they really haven't put a lot of money behind marketing or joint marketing efforts. I mean, can you see like, the next Spider-Man movie with a promo in the actual trailer for a VeVe NFT? I mean, there's so much potential that can happen with these partnerships and these licensing agreements that I really think that they are on the right track.
Yeah, I love that, because I mean, like, they have definitely overpromise and underdeliver on so many occasions, but I think it's mostly because they got overly excited, just because there's so many things you can do with NFTs and digital collectible, and especially with the number of licenses that they have. And yeah, I mean, like from 2017 to 2018, just two guys from New Zealand already onboarded some of the biggest brands who are huge competitors like Marvel and DC on the same platform, and then now Disney too. Like the fact that just these two guys and Alfred Khan, which is a big name but still a relatively small team, have introduced some of the biggest characters like Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, Mickey Mouse on the same platform is pretty mind-blowing. And despite all the FUDs that we had for a good part of 2022 and earlier this year, the fact that while other platforms are not doing so well, they have introduced the waitlist, burning, crafting, and even new licensors have been pretty amazing. So Where do you see VeVe going from here? What are your vision for VeVe in the next few years?
For sure, VeVeVerse. I think I mean, you nailed it with crafting. I mean, that's like, Rob, right out of the Minecraft world. But I mean, if you think about the fact that when you craft, and I think I got 5 or 6 Thanos through the crafting to need to enhance it to benefit the low mint usage. Because I, as many people, thought that if I used low mints when I was crafting, that I would end up with a low mint. And obviously we all learned that wasn't the case. So I think that that's one adjustment that they could definitely make in the crafting component. I mean, we haven't even touched on utility. I mean, if you really think about from the various brands at Disney and Universal and like Nike, Coca-Cola, like all these companies that potentially, I mean, can you imagine the Air Jordan NFT? Wink, wink, David. It's the benefit of these products and connectivity with licensing and then utility on them, I think is huge. And then you push that into the VeVeVerse. I really think the VeVeVerse is going to be a huge catalyst for growth for VeVe. And there'll be some out there that dismiss that or think that that's it'll never come or whatnot. I was fortunate at the last Decon to get to actually experience the VeVeVerse VR. And I mean, just where it was at then, I can only imagine where it's at today. And when it actually releases, I mean, I don't own VR goggles today. I will absolutely go out and purchase at least one pair when that's available to users. I'm sure there's some opportunity for a partnership in VR goggle wear with something to do with that. But yes, I definitely think that that's where we're going to see VeVe move to. And then I think that I have not confirmed this. I haven't talked to David or anyone about this, but it would not surprise me if they move the marketplace into the VeVeVerse so that you can actually interact in the VeVeVerse with the live market and buy and sell and trade collectibles.
Yes, I know Mr. V was going to ask this question, but I have to jump in because in one of the last episodes of the podcast, I mentioned to Mr. V how I had this vision of the marketplace. Right now, it is very static. Like you come in, you see a photo, some text that say, "Oh, this is the name of that collectible. This is how much it costs." Oh, that episode where where Apple came out with their Reality Pro headset, I told Mr. V that, hey, I can imagine one day we can experience the VeVe market in the sense that you put on the goggle, you see all these options, and let's say you want to buy your Miles Morales, right? You clicked on that collectible, and boom, like he's not just a line of text anymore. He jumps right in front of you, and he does that animation, and there's a sound behind it. There's all this visual in front of you. They may be able to do some like background to make it really cool. So now, and then the mint number as well. So now you are not just clicking a button on your phone. You are experiencing this amazing collectible and the sounds and the animation, everything in a very immersive way. And that brings a whole new, just like a whole new level of interacting with digital collectibles.
Oh, agree. Yeah. I mean, now couple that with social media. So now imagine being able to post from VR onto your social media, right? Taking a selfie in virtual reality in the VeVeVerse and post it on social media, add in sound bites or sound licensing ability, or there's, I mean, like I said, I think that we're just scratching the surface of where this industry is going in actual reality world. So yeah, I think that the potential's there. Do I think that stacking 50 waltz is gonna net a solid return? Probably not. But I think that making sure that you have at least a couple of the collectibles that you like, so that if the price goes up, you can afford to, roll that into another collectible. I love the intrinsic value of collections where you have everybody with the same mint and things like that. So yeah, I mean, I'm really excited about where it's going.
All right. So to wrap things up, we'd like to know what are maybe 2 or 3 lessons that you've learned from the moment that you started with VeVe up until now.
Well, very, very first lesson I learned is don't spend money you can't afford to lose. It's like gambling. If you're going to go to a casino, you need to assume that you're going to walk out of there with none of the money that you're walking in there with, right? So it's not a quick cash platform. You got to know that. I think that you need to listen to your gut and not to your feed, because there's both haters and inflators, and you get wrapped up in some of that. You might end up impulse buying on FOMO or something. Definitely done that before. And then I would say, I think long hold, like flippers. I just that time is gone with the diminishing amount of bots and more of the what would you call it? More of the real collector. I don't think that you're going to get the flippers that you typically will have.
All right. I can, well, I know for myself, at least, as a particular mint collector, that I do notice have noticed that shift in the dynamic of the market as well. So I absolutely agree with you. Well, on that note, we do want to respect your time, and we really want to say thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We can't imagine how busy you are, both with work and with your family. So thank you again for taking the time out of your day to spend it with us and our listeners.
For sure. Enjoyed it. Great. Appreciate it. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Thanks so much. You did
Thank
the same.
you, Michael.
All right. Take care.
That is it, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have enjoyed the episode today. And if you have, remember that gentleman agreement. We will continue working until 1 a.m. just for you. But in return, we ask you to subscribe to the podcast so that you don't miss out on the actionable and valuable insights, everything VeVe and Omi related. Don't forget to give us a rating and tweet at us to let us know what you think about the podcast so that we can refine the content better just for you. Thank you so much. We hope to see you again next time. Peace.